because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself says that um, we should not be lazy to understand the philosophy, because it is only by understanding the philosophy that our mind can become fixed on the process, and then the pastimes become much more clear. So the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness here, we will take only few shlokas today because the purports are also very long and very, very important purports. Srila Prabhupada explains the basic philosophy very nicely and in simple words. So what we will do is read the purport also and then discuss. Even if we cover 4 or 5 shlokas, that is fine, but we will go according to the understanding of this philosophy, which is very, very important for us to understand. So as we see in this shloka particularly, there are 2 divisions of living entities. There is one who can move and those who cannot move, Sthavara and Jangama. So all the living entities who can move, there are birds, aquatics and animals. And those who cannot move, there are plants, trees, etc. So, as Prabhupada explains in the purport, we will see. Mataji, would you like to read the purport also?
Yes, Mataji. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving clear instructions on how the living entities live under different conditions. There are trees, plants, and stones that cannot move, but still they must be considered living entities or spiritual sparks. The soul is present in bodies like those of trees, plants, and stones. They are all living entities. Among moving living entities such as birds, aquatics, and animals, the same spiritual spark is there. As stated herein, there are living entities that can fly, swim, and walk. We must also conclude that there are living entities that can move within fire and other ether. Living entities have different material bodies composed of earth, water, air, fire, and ether. The words Tara Madhye mean within this universe. The entire material universe is composed of 5 material elements. It is not true that living entities reside only within this planet and not within others. Such a conclusion is completely contradictory to the Vedas. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.24, Achedyo yam adyo adhayo yam akledyo sosya evacha nitya sarva gata stanur achalo yam sanatanaha. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned or dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. The soul has nothing to do with the material elements. Any material element can be cut to pieces, especially earth. As far as the living entity is concerned, however, he can be neither burned nor cut to pieces. He can therefore live within fire. We can conclude that there are also living entities within the sun. Why should living entities be denied this planet or that planet? According to the Vedas, the living entities can live anywhere and everywhere on land, in water, in air, and in fire. Whatever the condition, the living entity is unchangeable, stanu. From the statements of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Bhagavad Gita, we are to conclude that living entities exist everywhere throughout the universes. They are distributed as trees, plants, aquatics, birds, human beings, and so on. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this is the basic instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, which Sri Krishna gives to Arjuna. And the same instruction here, Srila Rupa Goswami is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the basic philosophy of soul and the body. So 2 kinds of living entities, those who can move, those who cannot move. And even the living entity, even though it is a 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, such a small portion in size, still it is most qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, and it is spiritual spark. It is not material. So it has the differentiation from matter, even though the different material bodies are made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. The word Taramadhya also means within this universe. So within this universe, there are living entities everywhere, no matter whether they are moving or non-moving. Such living entities can exist everywhere and anywhere within the universe. On this planet, on the other planet, everywhere. So the modern philosophy that only on the Earth planet there is existence and not on the other planets is denied here. According to the Vedas, the living entities can live anywhere and everywhere, on land, in water, in air, and in fire also. And thus it is concluded from this verse that living entities are distributed everywhere as trees, plants, aquatics, birds, human beings, and so on. And as we go on with these instructions, you will see that they are evolved. The instructions are so beautifully explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right from the soul, difference between the body and the soul, up to the evolvement of the person through different kinds of yoga and how to get out of this material entanglement. So as we go on, we will see how beautifully the Lord reveals this knowledge to Srila Rupa Goswami. So the first verse was about living entities are everywhere. Second, 145. Somebody would like to read? Hare Krishna.
Please raise your hands to read.
Yes, Shobha Mataji.
Shloka number 145, right, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
तारा मध्ये मनुष्या जति अति अल्पतरा तारा मध्ये मेलचा पुलिंदा बुद्धा शभारा. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Although the living entities known as human beings are very small in quantity, that division may be still further subdivided, for there are many uncultured human beings like Melacha, Pulindas, Bhaudas, and Shabara. Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Dandat
Thank
Mataji.
you. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, as we see, the Lord explains there are many kinds of living entities, many kinds of species, 84 lakh species of life, but the human beings are very small in quantity, but among them also there are those who are uncultured. So the Lord is explained 84 lakh species of life, the soul and the body, and now he's saying even amongst human beings there are lower uncultured human beings like Mlechas, Pulindas, Bauddhas, and Shabaras. Now he goes further, 146. Who would like to read? Yes, Padmaja Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
वेदानिष्ठा मध्ये अध्येका वेद मुखे माने वेद निषिद्ध पाप करे धर्म नहीं गणे. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Among human beings, those who are followers of the Vedic principles are considered civilized. Among these, almost half simply give up service while committing all kinds of sinful activities against these principles. Such people do not care for the regulative principles.
Thank you. So, among human beings also, there are those who follow the Vedic principles and those who simply speak some things as if they are following, but they are committing all kinds of sinful activities. So such people do not care for the regulative principles. So we can see how slowly he is coming towards so many aspects of human beings. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains about what is actually knowledge. So let us read that. Padmaja Mataji, would you like to read purport?
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The word Veda means knowledge. Supreme knowledge consists of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our relationship with Him and acting according to that relationship. Action in accordance with the Vedic principles is called religion. Religion means following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are the injunctions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aryans are civilized human beings who have been following the Vedic principles since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of the Vedic principles set forth so that man might understand the Supreme Being. Literature or knowledge that seeks the Supreme Being can be accepted as a bona fide religious system. But there are many different types of religious systems according to the place, the disciples, and the people's capacity to understand. The higher type of religious system is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Thus, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adhokshate. The highest form of religion is that by which one becomes fully conscious of existence of God, including his form, name, qualities, pastimes, abode, and all pervasive features. When everything is completely known, that is the perfection of Vedic knowledge. The fulfillment of Vedic knowledge is a systematic knowledge of the characteristics of God. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedescha sarvairahameva vedyo. The aim of Vedic knowledge is to understand God. Therefore, those who are actually following Vedic knowledge and searching after God cannot commit sinful activities against the Supreme Lord's order. However, in the age of Kali, although men profess to belong to so many different kinds of religions, most of them commit sinful activities against the orders of the Vedic scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says here in Veda Nishiddha Papakare Dharma Nahi Gane. In this age, men may profess a religion, but they actually do not follow the principles. Instead, they commit all kinds of sins. Thank you, Mataji. Haribol.
Thank you. So beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada what is knowledge. Vedas means knowledge, and real knowledge consists of understanding the Supreme Lord and our relationship with Him and acting according to that relationship. Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. This is the basic understanding of what is knowledge. And Sri Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita 15.15 that by all the Vedas, I am to be known. I am the compiler of Vedas and I am the knower of the Vedanta. So thus, stating the point, what is real religion? Religion does not mean the different kinds of designations that man has created, but real religion is acting according to our nature of serving the Supreme Lord. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma. That activity by which the soul will be eternally satisfied, and that is ahaituki bhakti towards the Supreme Lord. And that fulfillment of Vedic knowledge is systematic knowledge, is the characteristic of God. And this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says that in this age, men may profess a religion, but they actually do not follow the principles. So this is what he states in this particular verse to Srila Rupa Goswami, that even though sometimes people think they are following religion amongst human beings, but actually they are not following the Vedic principles because they are engaged in all kinds of sinful activities. So going further, 147, Sudha Mata.
Can I read, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandak
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
धर्माचारी मध्ये बहुता कर्म निष्ठा कोई क्रम निष्ठा मध्ये एक ज्ञानी श्रेष्ठ. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. Among the followers of Vedic knowledge, most are following the process of fruitive activity and distinguishing between good and bad work. Out of many such sincere fruitive actors, there may be one who is actually wise. Purport
Right.
also, Mataji?
Yes, Madhu. So let me just
Yes.
clarify this. As we are seeing, you can see how evolved the knowledge is becoming. Just the basic understanding of body and soul. Then among 84 lakh species of life, there are so many human beings who are cultured and uncultured. Even amongst cultured, those who follow the Vedic scriptures, there are some who only follow for the sake of following and engage in all kinds of sinful activities. Now, among those who are actual followers of Vedic knowledge, some are or most are following the process of fruitive activity, karma kanda, distinguishing between good and bad work. And out of many such sincere fruitive actors, there may be one who is actually wise. So, do you recollect any shloka from Bhagavad Gita where the Lord says that out of many thousands of living human beings, one person might approach Krishna? And out of
Bahunam
such,
janmanam.
yes. Or there's one more shloka.
Manushyanam sahasreshu.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam veti tatvata. That out of so many living entities, one may strive to know who is Krishna. And out of such, those who are interested in knowing Krishna, only one may come to know him as he is. So please read the purport, Mataji. Very beautiful purport.
Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura states that the word karma nishtha refers to one who aspires to enjoy the results of his good work and pious activity. Some followers of Vedic principles offer everything to the absolute truth and do not aspire to enjoy the results of their pious actions. These are also considered among the karmanishtas. Sometimes we see pious men earn money with great hardship and then spend the money for some pious cause by opening public charities, schools, and hospitals. Whether one earns money for himself or for the public benefit, he is called a karmanishta. Out of millions of karmanishtas, there may be one who is wise. Those who try to avoid fruitive activity and who become silent in order to merge into the spiritual existence of the absolute truth are generally known as jnanis, wise men. They are not interested in fruitive activity but in merging into the supreme. In either case, both the karmanishtas and the jnanis are interested in personal benefit. The karmis are directly interested in personal benefit within the material world, and the jnanis are interested in merging into the existence of the supreme. The jnanis maintain that fruitive activity is imperfect. For them, perfection is the cessation of work and the merging into the supreme existence. That is their goal in life. The jnanis want to extinguish the distinction between knowledge, the knower, and the aim of knowledge. This philosophy is called monism or oneness and is characterized by spiritual silence. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Mataji. I would like to give one example which happened in our ISKCON Chowpatty many years back when there was one person, he was a fruit vendor and he used to sell fruits, but once in a month, he would come and give all his fruits for free to all the brahmacharis. That was his karmanishtha. He was not thinking that I want to serve them or I want to give to the Lord or to his devotees. That was not his attitude. His attitude was, I am doing my work, and to do this, I will not be attached to the result. ये मेरा कर्म है और ये मैं निष्ठा से करूंगा. So when this attitude is there, that is called karmanishta, only for the sake of doing the activity and not expecting the result. But there is no bhakti involved in that. So this is pure fruitive work. Now, this person, after certain years, when the brahmacharis would give him prasad and invite him for the programs, he started understanding that just by giving this to the devotees, I am serving them and I am giving pleasure to the Lord and his devotees. And slowly, slowly, he understood that my activities are actually meant for the pleasure of the Lord. And thus, when he became a devotee, of course, the same activity turned into Bhakti Yoga, right? So not only was he attached to the fruit, but he offered the fruits to the Lord. So this is what the purport here, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur states, that Karma Nishtha refers to one who aspires to enjoy the results of his good work and pious activity. So in this case, this person, this fruit vendor, was Nishkam Karma Yogi because he was not attracted to the result of his work. But what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks here and what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also explaining in this verse, those who are attached to the results of their good work and piety, they are called Karmanishtha. And some followers of Vedic principles, they follow the Vedic principles for the sake of gaining something material. And they want to offer everything to the Supreme, the absolute truth, and do not aspire to enjoy the results. So there are some who want to follow the Vedic principles to get material things. And there are some who follow the Vedic principles without the aspiration to enjoy the results. So both kinds exist. These are also considered among the Karmanishthas. But sometimes we see pious men, they earn money with great hardship. And then they spend the money for some pious cause, like opening the hospitals, schools, charitable works. Whether they earn money for themselves or for the public benefit, it is called Karmanishtha. But out of such millions of Karmanishthas, there may be one who is wise, and those who try to avoid fruitive activity and who become silent in order to merge into the spiritual existence. Now, among these Karmanishthas, there may be one who doesn't want anything for himself, but what he wants, he is little higher, like he is Jnani. He has little higher knowledge, but his knowledge is to merge into the spiritual existence of the absolute truth. So they are called Jnanis or wise men. They are not interested in fruitive activity, but they are only interested in merging into the Supreme. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, in either case, whether one is a Karmanishtha or whether one is a Jnani, they are still interested in personal benefit, selfish benefit. Why? The Karmis are directly interested in personal gain within the material world. They want to enjoy within the material world. And the Jnanis want to go beyond the material world and enjoy into the existence of the Supreme. So in either case, they want enjoyment for themselves. The Jnanis maintain that fruitive activity is imperfect. For them, perfection is the stopping of work and merging into supreme existence. That is their goal of life. And they want to extinguish the distinction between knowledge, the knower, and the aim of knowledge. So that is called monism or oneness, shunyavad. We say the Prabhupada's Pranati, we say nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshatari. So in the Western countries, when Srila Prabhupada went, people were full of all these mentality, nirvisheshvad and shunyavad. Shunyavad means this, that people, they want to stop the distinction between knowledge, the knower, and the aim of knowledge. They think everything is one. This philosophy is shunyavad, or everything becomes zero after this body is destroyed. There is no existence. So that is called monism. Now, so Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that there are some Vedic followers who believe in such fruitive work or in monism. Okay. Now going further, Sindhu Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna, pranams Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Text 148.
Hmm.
कोटि ज्ञानी मध्ये हया एक जन मुक्ता कोटि मुक्ता मध्ये दुर्लभा एक Krishna Bhakta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Out of many millions of such wise men, one may actually become liberated, mukta. And out of many millions of such liberated persons, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very difficult to find. Purport in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, it said that due to their poor fund of knowledge, the jnanis are not actually liberated. They simply think that they are liberated. The perfection of knowledge culminates when one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti sabdyate. The absolute truth, Satyavastu, is described as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Knowledge of impersonal Brahman and the Supersoul is imperfect until one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's therefore clearly said in this verse, Koti Mukta Madhye Durlabha Eka Krishna Bhakta. Those who search after the knowledge of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma are certainly accepted as liberated. But due to their imperfect knowledge, they are described in Srimad Bhagavatam as Vimukta Maninaha. Maninaha. Since their knowledge is imperfect, their conception of liberation is imperfect. Perfect knowledge is possible when one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is supported by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram shukritam sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shanti mrichyati. Person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, peace from the pangs of material miseries. To continue, Mataji.
Yes, last paragraph.
Okay. Research is going on for the karmis, jnanis, and yogis, but until the search is complete, no one can attain peace. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says, Nyatva mam shantim richati. One can actually attain peace when he knows Krishna. This is described in the next verse. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So beautiful explanation. Whether one is karmanishta or jnani, they are going to be within the material world only. Even though the jnanis, they think that they are liberated, among such actually who think they are liberated, the person who is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very difficult to find. Because even though the jnanis have some knowledge, their knowledge is imperfect. Why is not their knowledge imperfect? Because they do not have the complete understanding of that Brahman, what they are desiring to merge into. Because Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratisthaham. What is that? That he is the basis of impersonal Brahman. And that knowledge is lacking in the Jnanis. They think Brahman is the all in all. But Krishna further explains in the Bhagavad Gita in the 14th chapter that he is the basis of that impersonal Brahman. That knowledge, because it is lacking in the Jnanis, that is why their knowledge is imperfect. And the super soul and the Brahman, that knowledge, that is the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, these aspects which are in hierarchy and the Bhagavan aspect is lacking, that is why they lack in that knowledge and their liberation is incomplete. Since their knowledge is imperfect, their conception of liberation is also imperfect. And thus, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, the peace formula. What is the peace formula? How can a person become peaceful? When he understands that Krishna is the actual proprietor and the enjoyer, and he is the benefactor, well-wisher of all living entities. He is the beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities that we perform. He is the Lord and Master of all the planets and the demigods. Only that person can attain peace. from the pangs of material miseries. And thus, even though research is going on, Prabhupada says that research is going on for the karmis, the jnanis, and the yogis. But until the search is complete, no one can attain peace. That is why it is said that bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta Krishna bhakta nishkama ata eva shanta. Why is a devotee very, very peaceful? Because he doesn't have any material desires. He wants to only satisfy the Lord's desires by engaging in book distribution, like our December marathon has just started from today, right? So why the devotees are so blissful going out and distributing books? Because their desire and the Lord's desire is one and the same. The Lord also wants to give his mercy to all the living entities, and following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, the devotees are also trying to do the same. They are also reaching out to many people and giving that mercy. So when we make our desire one with the Supreme Lord's desire, that is real oneness. And that is the real peace formula. When we know Krishna is the enjoyer and we only give that, share that knowledge with others. Therefore, the karmis are not happy, jnanis are not happy, yogis are also not happy, even though they achieve the highest material pleasure. But because they lack Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord and his service, that is why there is no peace. And that person who attains peace is one who knows Krishna. So that is what is very simply explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how it can be, that is described in the next verse. How one can attain peace when he knows Krishna, that is explained in the next verse. Text 149. Shobha Mataji.
Dandavat pranam Mataji. Krishna bhakta nishkama atheva shanta bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is perfectful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment, jnanis desire liberation, and yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they all are lusty and cannot be peaceful. Do you want me to read the purport, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Mataji. Please.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The devotees of Lord Krishna has no desire other than serving Krishna. Even so-called liberated people are full of desires. Fruitive actors desire better living accommodations, and jnanis want to be one with the Supreme. Yogis desire material opulence, yogis perfections and magic. All of these non-devotees are lusty, kami, because they desire something they cannot have, peace. The peace formula is given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridum sarvabhutana nyatva mam shanti mrutyati. One who simply understands that throughout the entire universe, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and beneficiary of all kinds of sacrifices, penances, and austerities, which should be performed only to attain this devotional service. That Krishna is the supreme being and thus the proprietor of all the material worlds, and that Krishna is the only friend who can actually do good to all living entities. Suhritam Sarvabhutanam. And one who understands these three principles about Krishna immediately becomes desireless, nishkama, and therefore peaceful. A Krishna Bhakta knows that his friend and protector in all respects is Krishna, who is able to do anything for his devotees. Krishna says, Kaunteya Pratijan Niti Janhi Name Bhakta Paran Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Since Krishna gives this assurance, the devotee lives in Krishna and has no desire for personal benefit. The background for the devotee is that is the all good himself. Why should the devotee aspire for something good for himself? His only business is to please the Supreme by rendering all much service as possible. A Krishna Bhakta has no desire for his own personal benefit. He is completely protected by the Supreme. Avasya Dakshibe Krishna Vishvasa Palana. Bhaktivinoda Thakura says that he is desireless because Krishna will give him protection in all circumstances. It is not that he expects any assistance from Krishna. He simply depends on Krishna just as a child depends on his parents. The child does not know how to expect service from his parents, but he is always protected nevertheless. This is called nishkama, desirelessness. Although karmis, jnanis, and yogis fulfill their desires by performing various activities, they are never satisfied. A karmi may work very hard to acquire $1 million, but as soon as he gets $1 million, he desires another million. For the karmis, there is no end of desire. The more the karmis get, the more he desires. The jnanis cannot be desireless because their intelligence is unsound. They want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. But even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. There are many jnanis and sannyasis who, after taking sannyasa and giving up the world as false, return to the world to engage in politics or philanthropy or to open schools and hospitals. This means they could not attain the real Brahma Satyam. They have to come down to the material platform to engage in the philanthropic activity. Thus they again cultivate desires, and when these desires are exhausted, they desire something different. Therefore, the jnanis cannot be nishkama, desireless, nor can the yogis be desireless, for they desire yogic perfections and in order to exhibit some magical feast and gain popularity. People gather around these and the yogis desire more and more adulteration, adulation, because they misuse their mystic power. They fall down again to the material platform. It is not possible for them to become nishkama, desireless. This conclusion is that only the devotees who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord can actually become desireless. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. Since the Krishna Bhakta, the devotees of Krishna, is satisfied with Krishna, there is no possibility of fall down. Haribol. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhya. So I think I said the shloka before the shloka was read. I explained it. But still, nevertheless, we will see how Prabhupada explains all the three gradations, karmi, jnani, and yogi. Very beautifully he explains that karmis, because they desire something within the material world, obviously, even after satiating their desires, they are never ending. They are endless. Material desires can never be satisfied. And jnanis, even though one step higher than the karmis, still they also cultivate desires, and their desires are to merge into the Brahman effulgence. But even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. Why? We see in the practical example in the material world, those who are sannyasis, jnanis, in the Mayavadi field, or in the Mayavadi schools, or those who want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they, after taking sannyas and after giving up the world as false, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, after detaching from the world, they return back to the material world to engage in some kind of politics or some philanthropical work, and they open schools and hospitals, and thus their real happiness is not achieved by that Brahman. Why? Because that is also not satisfying to the soul, because there is no service involved to the Supreme Lord. So thus they again cultivate desires. When their desires are thus exhausted, they again desire something different. Therefore, the jnani also cannot be nishkama or desireless. Now that is jnanis. better than karmis. Still, it is desireless. It is not desireless. Now, what about the yogis? The yogis, they are also not desireless. Why? Because after undergoing so many Ashtanga yoga practices, they achieve mystic powers, some yogic perfections. But what do they do after getting such mystic powers? They again engage to exhibit some magical feats to gain popularity. So there is some desire for fame, so that people will glorify them or adore them, appreciate them. So there is a subtle enjoyment involved, even though externally they may have given up sense gratification, but there is some subtle enjoyment on the mental level. And people gather around these yogis, and these yogis, they desire more and more adulation. Because they misuse their mystic power, they again fall down to the material platform. These processes are very bona fide. Actually, if one follows mystic yoga and dhyana yoga and attains perfection in that particular yoga, one can get elevated to the platform of dhyana yogi and achieve the further elevation. From Brahmaloka, one can be elevated to the spiritual planets, provided one takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. But most of the times what happens, people who get mystic powers, they get allured by these mystic powers. And instead of going further beyond, they again fall down into the material platform. And thus, it is not possible for them to become nishkama or desireless. Therefore, what is the conclusion? Only the devotees, bhaktas, beyond karma yogis, beyond jnana yogis, beyond dhyana yogis, only the bhaktas or devotees who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord can actually become desireless. And what is this desirelessness? It's not that one gives up the material desires, because material desires can never be given up. But what one can do, one can utilize these desires in the Lord's service favorably. So that is what is stressed here. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. So that desirelessness is oneness with Krishna's desires. And that is why Bhakta is always satisfied. And there is no possibility of fall down. And very beautiful shloka. We will conclude with this shloka. Text 150. Radhika Mataji, please read.
Krishna Mataji. Yeah. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayanah sudurlabha prasantatma kotivapi mahamune. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada to Jai. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 14th.
Translation, Mataji, you can read translation.
Oh, sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada to Jai. O great sage, out of many millions of materially liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, there is hardly one pure devotee of Narayan. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. I'll continue, Purport?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Purport. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 14th chapter, 5th verse. The Narayana Parayanaha, the devotee of the Lord Narayana, is the only blissful person. One who becomes a Narayana Parayana is already liberated from material bondage. He already possesses all the perfection of yoga. Unless one comes to the platform of Narayana Parayana and passes over the platform of Bhukti Mukti Siddhi, he cannot be fully satisfied. That is a pure devotional stage. Hare Krishna. Anya Vilashita Sunyam Jnana Karmani Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. One who desires nothing but Krishna, who is not influenced by the process of Jnana Marga, cultivation of knowledge, actually becomes free from ignorance. A first-class person is one who is not influenced by karma, fruit of activity, or yoga, mystic power. He simply depends on Krishna and is satisfied in devotional service. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, 6.17.28, Narayana para sarve na kutaschala bibyati. Such a person is never afraid of anything. For him, heaven and hell are the same. Not knowing the situation of Narayana Parayana, rascals become envious. By the grace of Narayana, a devotee is situated in the most opulent position in the material world. Rascals are envious of Narayana and his devotee, but the devotee endeavors to please another devotee of Narayana because he knows that by pleasing Narayana representative, one directly pleases Lord Narayana. Therefore, a devotee offers the best comforts and facilitates to his spiritual master. Outsiders who have no knowledge of Narayana are envious of both Narayana and his devotee. Consequently, when they see that Narayana's devotee is opulently situated, they become even more envious. But when the devotee of Narayana asks such foolish people to come live with him in the same comfortable situation, they do not agree because they cannot give up on illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Therefore, the materialist refuses the company of Narayana Parayana, although is envious of the devotional material situation. In Western countries, when ordinary people, storekeepers, and workers see our devotees living and eating sumptuous and yet not working, they become very eager to know where they get the money. Such people become envious and ask, how is it possible to live so comfortably without working? How is it you have so many cars, bright faces, and nice clothes? Not knowing that Krishna looks after his devotee, such people become surprised and some become envious. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hari Bol. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So beautiful. And Prabhupada summarizes how Narayana Parayana, the devotee of Lord Narayana. Very beautiful section from 6th canto where Lord Shiva is explaining to Mother Parvati after she curses Chitraketu Maharaj that you will take birth as a demon. This particular person, Chitraketu Maharaj, comes down from his aeroplane, folds his hands and accepts the curse very, very humbly. And that is when Lord Shiva speaks this verse to Mother Parvati, that just see, the devotee of Lord Narayana is the only blissful person. He is not considering whether he lives in the hellish planet as a demon or whether he lives on the earthly planet. He is not concerned with his material position. What he is concerned is only service to Lord Narayana. And that is why he is blissful in any situation. So, Prabhupada gives also the a definition of pure devotional service, that is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. There is no other material desires. Anya Abhilasha is Shunyam. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. And Jnana and Karma is also not covering. But what is the actual pure devotional service? Anukullena Krishna Anushilanam. That it is favorable to Krishna's desire and following in the footsteps of Krishna's desire. Two things. One is favorable to Krishna and second is as per Krishna's desire. And that is Uttama Bhakti or pure devotional service. And thus, Narayana Parayana is that person who is happy in any situation. Why? Because he is not envious. Those who are envious are not peaceful. When there is envy in the heart, what happens? We give the special place in our heart to that envy. And that eats our own self. Because of envy, we are not able to appreciate either the other person or the things which we have got in our life. Like some people, they approached Srila Prabhupada and they said, Swamiji, please give blessings. So Prabhupada said, yes, you have my blessings. But still they were asking, because materialistic people, they are only concerned about material prosperity. So still again they asked, no Srila Prabhupada, we want your blessings. So Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can sit here with me in one of my temples, like these shaved head young men, and you can have my blessing. But they said, no, we don't want that kind of blessing. We want to prosper in our business. So this is what envious people, they do not want to give up their sense gratification. At the same time, they want blessing only to prosper in their material aspect. Also in the Western countries, Prabhupada gives the example that such people are so envious that they ask, how is it that you people never work and you are still living so comfortably? Whereas karmis, they have to work so hard. They have to go to work and endure so much. Still, they are not happy. After getting so much money also, they want some pleasure through sense gratification, through illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. And even after that, they are still not satisfied. So once Srivas Thakur was in front of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya, he could see that Srivas Thakur was a grihastha, and still he would never go to work. He was not having any income, but still he was maintaining such a large family, joint family. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Srivas Pandit, Srivas, how is it that you are maintaining your family, which is not small, it is a huge family? And Srivas Thakur just clapped 3 times. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what is the meaning of this clapping? And Srivas just smiled and he said, if the Lord does not fulfill my requirements within the time that I clap 3 times, I will jump into the Ganges and commit suicide. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, can you explain? So he said that one who has given his life, surrendered his life to you, my Lord, you always take care of that devotee. And that devotee does not have to care about his maintenance, which is just secondary. The Lord automatically takes care of his devotees. But that does not mean that we imitate and we do not work. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was showing through the example of Srivas Thakur how selfless surrender of a devotee through his firm faith in the mercy of the Lord gives full maintenance and full promise by the Lord that he takes care of his devotees. Name bhaktaha pranashyati. So those who are surrendered, one of the quality of surrender is avashya rakshibe Krishna. Rakshishyati iti vishvaso. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he explains the 6 stages of surrender. First is anukulya. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. That accepting things which are favorable, rejecting things which are unfavorable. Rakshishyati iti vishvaso. That is, the Lord will definitely protect me in all circumstances. Srila Prabhupada also explains in the purport, just like a child is dependent on the parents, and the parents naturally feel that this child needs me. So the child is always given that protection. So that protection by the Lord is given in the form of one's master. That is, gotruptve varanam. And then the 5th one is, the first is anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishvaso gotruptve varanam. Does anyone remember the 5th one? I'm not able to get the last line, but the conclusion is that the Lord always protects as the master. And karpanye, yes, the 6th one is humility. So these are the 6 stages of surrender. Yes, Mataji?
Gopatre varanam tata atma nikshepa
Atma
karpanye.
nikshepa. Yes, thanks, Mataji.
Atma
Atma
nikshepa.
nikshepa. Yes, Atma nikshepa is the
Full
5th one.
self-surrender.
Yes, full surrender to the Supreme Lord. Atma nikshepa, like Atma nivedanam, right? Like that. And then 6th one is karpanye, that is humility. So, anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishvaso goktutve varanam tatha atma nikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagati. Thank you, Mataji. So thus, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this is how we show our surrender to Krishna. And one of the things is the Lord will always protect. So very important practical takeaway point for us from this section is the Lord will always protect his devotees. What is the devotee's duty? Just fully depend on the Supreme Lord's mercy in all situations. And the moment we are depressed, frustrated, or thinking, oh, things are not happening good in my life, that means we are not taking shelter of the Lord. And what is the peace formula in all situations?
Bhoktaram Yagnatapasham.
Yes, Bhoktaram
Sarvaloka
Yagyatapasam,
Maheshwaram.
Sarvaloka Maheshwaram,
Suhridam.
Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. A devotee who is taking shelter of the Lord is always peaceful. So let us take this point from Srila Rupa Goswami's teachings, that we may always take shelter of the Lord in all situations and thus keep the Lord's pleasure as the first and foremost duty in our lives. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Srila Rupa Goswami, all glories to Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Nitai Sitana, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrit ki jai, assembled devotees ki jai. Thank you all very much for your enthusiastic participation and your nice attention in the class. Thank you all for joining today. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity for me to speak on Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you, Sitarani Mataji and all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
We
Krishna,
have time
Mataji.
for 1 or 2 questions. If anybody would like to ask or any comment, please add anything you want to. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandapana Mataji. Sorry,
Thank you,
I
Hare
just
Krishna.
left my place for a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
I
Yes,
hope
Sindhu
it is over, Mataji. You completed today's section.
Yes, we completed up
Okay.
to 150. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for
Thank
your
you.
wonderful session. Devotees, let us meet again on coming Wednesday at the same time. See you. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhucheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, उपस्थित
जय।
गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.